Hi everyone, my name is Ronni Chern and I'm the Unit Coordinator for EDU 1002. I'm here to talk with you today about Assessment 2 for Understanding Language and Literacy. I know many of you are still celebrating from submitting Assessment 1 on Monday and are probably looking forward to Consolidation Week next week. But I'm hoping that this flipped collaborate will be helpful to you in working with your classmates next week during the Consolidation Week to get a head start on some of the key components of this team project. So let me explain Assessment 2 more clearly to you, and then perhaps you can jump in and find this to be a very exciting task for you to enjoy. Here we go. Assessment 2 in a nutshell. Well, what is it? It's a colleague presentation. That means that you're going to create a presentation that you could present to a group of educators like yourself. It's a professional presentation. There is a word limit to it. It's 1,000 words per person, and it's to be presented in a PowerPoint or Prezi or other presentation software. Since you'll be working in teams, the actual Prezi or PowerPoint will have several portions of it of different people or different parts of it. But remember that each one of you only contributes 1,000 words to this group presentation. In addition, you have to create a video. So you're going to create these 1,000 words to your group presentation and then make a video of how you would actually present it to us if you were in a class with other educators and sharing your ideas. This is basically like a shared portfolio. So remember, you're creating a PowerPoint or Prezi or other presentation software together with some teammates, but your portion of it you're going to create a video and actually present to us. This assessment is worth 30%, and it's due on Monday the 14th of September at 9 a.m. Let me repeat again, there are two parts to the assessment. The first is the group presentation, which is a compilation of all the slides analyzing all the scenarios, and the second is your individual video presentation in which you actually present to us your portion of the group presentation. So let's look at the overview. What's the purpose of this task? Well, it's for you to demonstrate as a member of a team you can implement strategies to support emergent literacy learning. You can demonstrate an understanding of an individual child's language and literacy development. You can show that you have the requisite presentation skills required to be an educator in a classroom and a community setting. And your audience for this presentation are your fellow colleagues, which means they're educated and they understand both the terminology and the concepts that you're trying to explain. What about the assessment details? Well, there are 4 steps involved in this particular task. First, you need to form a team of 4 or 5 people. Second, you choose a scenario to analyze. Third, you create a team presentation which contains all the slides and images discussing the scenarios. And fourth, you record your presentation of only a portion of this slide presentation, your portion that you created, your discussion of your scenario. So again, 4 steps. Form a team. Each one of you chooses a scenario. Third, create a team presentation. And fourth, record your own portion of this presentation for all of us to see and hear. What do you do next? Well, first, if you haven't done so already, you need to choose a team. Go to your Blackboard site and find the wikis that your ELA has created for you. Please click on the wikis. If you haven't already done so, please join one of the teams, indicate your name and email address, and perhaps which one of the scenarios you would like. Or you may chat about that with your teammates and do some negotiation. The key is to have a team and to get started on your teamwork. Next, each and every one of you has to choose a scenario. There is a film we have, it's called Supporting Early Years Literacy 0 to 5, and in it we have several scenarios, one right after the other. Each member of the team chooses one. No member of a team can choose one another member of the team has. So remember, if a team is made up of 5 people, you're going to be talking about all 5 scenarios. If there are 4 teammates, then you're going to choose 4 of these 5. But each member of the team has his or her own scenario to explain and focus and discuss. So what are they? Well, one of the scenarios is all about Charlotte and having her nappy change. Another scenario is about Orson having lunch with his mum. Another one is Orson and the castle. The next one is Maddie with cats and trucks. And the last one is Seb with sharks and fish. Again, each team member chooses a different video clip to assess and evaluate, choosing a scenario. Next, your teammates have to decide on what kind of presentation you would like to make, whether you want to do a PowerPoint or a Prezi or some other presentation software. You are creating one document among all 4 or 5 of you. It's a single presentation. The key to the presentation, it's composed of a set of slides or images or depending on sections to it that include a sequenced summary and discussion of each of the scenarios. And these are created by the individual team members. So it's a collection. Think of it as a book that an editor has put together different authors, and they've each contributed to this collection, and that's what you're doing. Each one of you is contributing to this collection of slides towards this group presentation. As a presentation, it should have visuals, and we want to make sure it's appealing, so it should have slides or visuals, notes on it. Because you are presenting to an academic audience, please make sure you make academic references so that we show that there is scholarship which is supporting your ideas. Most importantly, each portion of this presentation, you need to indicate the person who created it. Like in a book, with you have an editor, well, he names the authors of each of the chapters that's in that collection. Next and last portion of it is the step 4. You're going to create your own video presentation of the slides that you created. So simply, you're going to demonstrate your skills as a communicator, as a public speaker, as a presenter. But you're only going to be talking about the slides you created for your particular discussion of the scenario that you have chosen. So it is a presentation that you're showing us how you can actually present it, not in theory, but in practice. So your team is together and you say, well, wait a minute, we're each going to go off and talk about our own scenarios now. But a good team recognizes the strengths and weaknesses of different team members. And since you're creating one document, one presentation, you ask each other, well, okay, who's particularly good at certain skills? So do you have a teammate who's very good at layout and design? Or do you have a teammate who's really a good editor or a proofreader? Do you have someone who's very good at citing sources or referencing or creating a reference page? And who is really good at finding visuals, creating visuals, drawing visuals, finding charts, images? Try to use the talents of your teammates. Divide up the various things you need to get and do so that we use the best talents, and that's what good teamwork is all about. Working as a team means recognizing the strengths of your teammates and taking advantage of them. Then, not only do you have to have good layout and design, but the key is what you're actually going to say or write, the academic writing. So in order to help one another, you may wish to share your summaries and discussions, or even talk about the different scenarios. You can use an open collaborate to talk about it or to share your ideas, or Skype, or Facebook, or any other method you like. The key is that it is not just a group presentation for layout, it's a group presentation for content as well. So each member of the team should be supporting and helping the other members of their team with understanding the scenario and understanding what language and literacy development that scenario will help generate. Remember, you are being assessed as a group here on this visual presentation. So here's your PowerPoint or Prezi. Remember, it's a collection of all of them put together. The key is it has to look like a whole or a unified one piece. It should not look like 4 or 5 people created their own little bits and they just slapped it together. It has to have the same font, the same format, the same layout, the same balance. One shouldn't be 12 slides and the other is 3. There has to be a sense of each portion of this presentation somehow seems to connect or match with the others. If you look at the picture, you'll notice that each member there is bringing a piece to the table and connecting. So it's a group task, and it needs to show teamwork by its design, layout, referencing, use of unit materials, and concepts. So then you say, well, what am I supposed to include in my portion? What is it I need to write? Well, the answer to that is the word summary and discussion. First of all, you need to watch that video very carefully. And after you've watched that video, you have to say, okay, I need to summarize what I just saw. So I saw a little girl having her nappy changed, okay. What captured that child's interest? What can the child do with their language? Like, can they just say ba-ba, or can they actually say words? What other areas of development are you noticing? Is she crawling? Is she doing anything? And how do these relate to language development? What is the correlation between the motor skills, the physical movement, and that language development? So your summary tells us that you've understood that language and literacy development, you understand the stages of it, and that's what your summary is simply summing up right there. The second part of your discussion says, okay, here's my child here in this scenario. I would like to help this child in an early childhood classroom or setting. So what should I do? Well, the second part of your discussion says, okay, let me think about this. I need to adopt the emergent literacy approach, and I got to think, what strategies would I use? How would I help this particular child improve his or her language and literacy? What could I do? And after I thought about it, I said, which curriculum model or framework or approach am I really thinking I'm linking to? So for this particular child, do I want to have a Montessori approach? Do I want to have a Steiner approach or a curriculum framework? Do I want to use the early years learning framework or the Australian curriculum? Do I want to use the Amelia Reggio approach or curriculum framework? What is it that I want to do with this child to help improve her or his language and literacy? And I've got to think what strategies and how does that link back to a curriculum model or framework? Those are the questions I need to ask myself, and it's the answers of those that I put onto my slides for my PowerPoint or Prezi presentation. It is the answers to those that I present to you, that is, the people who are going to be watching the video. So your video, it's 3 to 4 minutes presentation based on what you've seen. Some people have a little bit longer. It's not limiting you. It's just trying to give you some guidelines. You might want to use the first minute or two to summarize the scenario, and then you might want to use the second or third minutes after that to talk about specific strategies to support that child. The key, once again, is you want to summarize, and then you want to give specific strategies. There are detailed instructions of how to do this, particularly creating a video and how to upload a video. So please make sure you follow these instructions either in the Assessment 2 presentation folder in Blackboard or in the Swinburne toolbox. So for your own presentation, for your portion of the group task, you're going to actually present it to us as if we were sitting around in a circle and you're standing there in front of us and we're watching you. You might want to include some supporting materials such as images and charts. You might want to have or show us some evidence from academic literature throughout your conversation to show us that what you're saying has academic merit, it has support, it has credence to it, it has scholarship substantiating what the strategies that you've chosen and why you've chosen them. We're also going to be looking at your voice, or listening to your voice, watching your pacing, how quickly or slowly you're going to be speaking, your volume, your eye contact, your body language, all the things that make presentation skills have an impact on the audience. We're interested in whether or not you can entertain us, engage us, and help us understand what it is you believe about this child's language and literacy development. We have some instructions about uploading your video to make sure that we can actually see them. So we want to make sure that you don't make it private, because then only you can see it, but you don't make it public. We don't need the world to see it. You want to make it unlisted, which means that only those of us who have the URL, which you're going to provide, can actually watch it. If you need any help, we have lots of links. We have ones called Working with Video and another Video Editing and Recording, again, in the Student Toolbox. So you say, well, how can I get some help with this assessment? Well, the question is where do I find information about language development to help me assess the scenario? Your answer was in week 6. In that week 6, we talked about Marie Clay's emergent literacy, and we went into great detail about the different stages, okay, how language develops over certain stages. So as you are looking at the child in the scenario, go back to week 6 and say, where is this child according to this language development area, okay? Then you say, well, I don't know, really, I'm not good at working with teams. I haven't done that. I like to work alone, but I have to learn. And how do I create a video? Those are 2 questions. Again, week 7. If you participate in the activities, we are helping prepare you for this assessment. So for teamwork, assessment 2, there is a colleague presentation activity that will help you practice working in a team. And the second one, the video making skill, will actually give you a chance to practice uploading video. So if you do join our conversations and join the discussion board for week 7, you'll have great help in practicing for both teamwork and your video creation. And then many of you will say, well, the most important part for you is the content, that these strategies, these curriculum models. Well, some of the strategies you harken back to week 6, but in week 8 we talk about these curriculum models in great detail, particularly the alternative ones. So please make sure that you participate in the week 8 activities, and that will help you evaluate critically the 3 different models that they presented to you, the Montessori model, the Emilio Reggio model, and the Steiner or Waldorf model. So you're going to be looking at week 8 readings and activities and saying, how can this help me with my assessment? Well, they're talking about those curriculum models. They're also showing their connections to the Australian curriculum, to the early years learning framework. So again, harken back to those in both week 6 as well as week 8. And then the question you have to ask yourself is, here I have a child in a scenario, what strategies would I use for this particular child based on which curriculum model or framework? That's really the question you're asking. How do I submit? Remember, even though there are 2 parts to this task, there's 1 document. The 2 elements need to be combined into a single document for submission. So you take your group's presentation, and then you add to that a link to your video that you've uploaded. So we're going to have 3 other people are going to have the same group presentation as you will, but your individual video will distinguish your portion of the presentation. Remember, it's 1 document with 2 elements. The group presentation, whether it be PowerPoint, Prezi, or whatever, as well as a link to a video. Well, how will your task be assessed? That's the question I'm sure you're asking. And there are 5 criteria. First, we're going to look and see whether or not in your PowerPoint or your Prezi or in your written document, you show us that you've understood language and literacy development. Have you shown us that you really know how children develop their language and their literacy? Second, can you, looking at a particular child, the scenario, design and justify the choice of strategies? Which one would you choose and why? Which one would you not choose and why not? Again, we're looking at your thinking about the strategies you would choose to help children develop their language and literacy. So you're going to use the child in the scenario that you have chosen as the model child for your explanation. Third is, has your team put together this presentation in an attractive manner? Is it balanced? Is it clear? Is it visually attractive, really? It's your team presentation. Fourth, have you together worked on your academic writing skills? Whether you've even gotten help from your tutor, that's great, as long as the writing is clear and precise, there are no errors or few errors, it has academic references or resources, and it has a reference list. It shows us that this is a scholarly work. And the last is your presentation, your oral communication skills, your public speaking skills, the clarity, the pacing, the modulation, the eye contact, how you are presenting to us your portion of this group presentation. The rubrics are clear. The first one for 25%, notice the percentages, is understanding of language and literacy development. Have you demonstrated that? And have you talked about the needs and capabilities of the child? Okay. In the scenario, all right, so we're talking about here, there's a deep understanding of language and literacy development. Okay. And this particular child you've talked about, but also your teammates have talked about. It's an understanding of language and literacy development. The second one is the ones you've chosen to justify. Which strategies for literacy development that reflect curriculum models and approaches that you've chosen? So you've said, okay, here I have this child. You notice the word specific learners' needs and capabilities. What do they need and what are they capable of? What does this little boy need and what is he capable of? And what do I need to do to help him? And mostly, how is this connected to a curriculum model or an approach? Why have I chosen this particular strategy for this particular child? The visual communication is the, we would say, the elements of putting it all together, your PowerPoint or Prezi that your group presents together. It's the integration of visual and linguistic information. How have you put this together? Layout and design. You might actually, it can be included in a professional portfolio. It's communication skills. So how have you created this document, and is it a document that we would say has coherence? Does it have attractiveness? Does it have substance? The academic writing is the word choice, the language, the use of academic literature, the research, the reference page, all the elements that says something like these people have, or this group of people has really understood the importance of using scholarship to support their ideas, but they've also understood the importance of adhering to the conventions of the English language. Last is your own presentation. These are your own oral communication skills. This is where you stand up and bring your presentation not just to life, but help educate us, inspire us, and in many ways help us realize the value of what you're saying in a very engaging way. If you need some help with presentation skills, here are some resources for you. And of course, if you have any questions, please contact your ELA. Post your questions on the discussion board. And remember that your tutor would be very happy to work with you on any aspect of this presentation. So please feel free to contact them. They are looking forward to working with all of you. So as we head off into consolidation week, may I wish you a very happy one, and may I hopefully that you will enjoy working with your teammates, and I hope this flipped collaborate has been valuable to you. Have a great day.